For a transcript of this episode, training plans, and more, visit marathonsfortherestofus.com. So the question for today is, how do I stay positive during my marathon training? And when I was looking at this question, I went ahead and made a couple assumptions about the person who asked this question and sort of where they're coming from. The first assumption is that nothing's gone terribly wrong with their training, that this isn't an issue where they're dealing with a major injury or sickness or a huge amount of missed time, anything like that. That really, the second assumption is that we're working with somebody that's asking a question about how do I get over those day-to-day questions about how the training's going and how prepared am I for this marathon, and how can you stay positive in that day-to-day training. And I think step one in staying positive in your marathon training is really about having picked a realistic goal for the marathon. And when I say a realistic goal, I mean a goal that's based on your previous background in running, a goal that's based on maybe a time that you run in a previous marathon, or a time that's based on times that you run in the half marathon or the 10K and using prediction charts and those sorts of things. You know, something that has some grounding and is rooted in something, rather than just saying, oh, I want to drop 30 minutes off my marathon. Well, if you're saying I want to drop 30 minutes off my marathon, you better have a good reason why you think you can drop 30 minutes off your marathon. So that may mean that you're going to change up your training significantly, or it might mean that maybe you didn't train that seriously for the last one, or maybe you have a half marathon time that really shows you can run a much better marathon than you have to this point. All of that's great, but I think if you're picking a time out of thin air that you want to hit, or you're picking a goal for the race sort of out of thin air that isn't based in anything, it's going to be really hard to stay positive during the training and feel like you're making the progress that you need to be to that goal. I think step two in staying positive during marathon training is having a way to measure progress during your training. Okay, I like to talk about an 18-week training cycle, but even within that, I mean, that's a long time to go if you don't ever feel like you're really making progress, right? That's a long time to work at something and have that big question mark there. So I think this can be either some key workouts that maybe you repeat every 3 to 4 weeks during your marathon. It can be some checkpoint races. Those can be 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, something like that that gives you an idea, am I on track with my marathon? Or it could even just be a difficult long run, either because of the distance or adding in some marathon pace work or something like that. But I think having those checkpoints and doing them frequently enough, again, maybe every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, I think having those checkpoints allows you to feel like you're making progress, allows you to see the progress that you're making, and goes a long way towards staying positive in your marathon training. Now, these types of checkpoints, whether they're race, workout, long run, they of course can be really helpful when they go well. But they can also be really helpful when they don't go well. Either that is going to allow you to identify some mistakes that kept you from running as well as you wanted to, or it's going to help you to maybe keep your goals realistic for the marathon and adjust things as you get closer. So don't feel like a failed checkpoint race or workout or long run means that you're not making the progress that you need to be. Maybe means you're not making the progress that you want to be, but that's just an opportunity, like I said, to identify mistakes or reassess goals as you go. Neither of those are a reason to not be positive about your training. Okay, step 3 to staying positive during marathon training is to not overextend yourself. And I mean this in 2 ways. The first way is to not overextend yourself in the amount of time that you've committed to training. Like I said, I like to talk about an 18-week training cycle. I think that's short enough that you can stay focused and you can stay positive the whole time. You'll see other training plans out there that go up to 26 weeks. If that works for you, that's awesome. But for a lot of people, that's a long time to stay focused on a goal and to stay positive about it. So make sure that you're setting up a training length that makes sense for you and that you're not overextending yourself there. The second thing that you need to make sure you're not overextending yourself with is how much stuff are you packing into that training plan? Okay, are you giving yourself the opportunity to take recovery weeks or have weekends that don't have challenging or particularly long runs in them? You know, are you trying to cram too many speed workouts in there? All of that can sort of build up the stress levels and cause you to go a little bit stale and really lose that positivity because you're not doing the training the way that you want it to be, the way that you had it written out, and that can always be discouraging. So make sure that you're giving yourself a good opportunity to actually be successful with the training that you're doing by not asking yourself to do too much and not overextending yourself as you're setting up the training plan. And then finally, I think it can be super helpful to have a support network. And that can be your family, your friends, your training partners. It can be message boards online. Of course, it can be a coach as well. Somebody that can reassure you that things are going okay, that what you're feeling is totally normal with marathon training, and help you stay positive and keep an eye on the big picture. And in my experience, this is especially important in that 6 to 10 weeks out from the marathon range. That can be far enough into the training plan that you're already tired and you're starting to feel run down, but not far enough into the training plan that the end is in sight yet. And so having a support network to turn to that can reassure you and help give you some guidance can be really helpful during that time. I hope that helps. I hope those suggestions help you stay positive in your marathon training for your next race. If you have suggestions for future episodes, definitely leave them in the comment section below and let me know what you think of this video too. I always love hearing your guys' feedback. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.